Aloha everyone, it's Wednesday, and that means it's news day. Each week, the DAS team dives into the dark seeds of technology and to bring you the AI stories that we find interesting, impactful, and fun. This week, Anthropic unveiled Claude Sonnet 4.5, its most capable and aligned model claiming state-of-the-art coding and computer use. X.ai, OpenAI and DeepMind researchers launched Periodic Labs with a $300 million seed from A-list backers to build robots that can be AI scientists, starting for the hunt for novel superconductors. And OpenAI announced a couple of things. They introduced Sora 2, a more physics-faithful video and audio generator, and invite-only Sora social app with TikTok-style feeds and cameos that can use a verified likeness. Not to mention a few other things like Checkout Pulse and GDP Val. It's October 1st, 2025, episode 563. Today we have Beth, Brian, Andy, and I'm Jimmy, and this is the Daily AI Show. I want to thank everyone for joining the live stream, and to all of you who are just watching a little later, if you haven't already, click the bell, like, subscribe, and join the newsletter at thedailyAIshow.com. Okay, let's do a quick lightning round of stories from everyone before we delve deep into this week's news. Andy, what do you got?
Deep fakes in the news. So, in 2025, deep fakes have kind of come into their fore. Elon Musk appears in over a dozen promoting crypto scams and other investment schemes. So if you trust Elon Musk, you're going to be duped by buying some crypto that he has nothing to do with. Taylor Swift, of course, had a whole series of, or at least one, throw of fake nudes. Early this year, Scarlett Johansson was making a controversial political statement on the rounds of social media that had nothing to do with her whatever. And now, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, in a politically incorrect Mexicanization, sombrero included, in their own voices, saying that nobody likes the Democrat Party or us, and going on and on about that. Who was posting this? None other than Donald J. Trump on Truth Social. Now, remember, he's a person who insisted in an interview that the superimposed letters MS1 and 3 on the tattooed knuckles of Kilmar Abrego Garcia were actually tattooed on his hands, because he doesn't understand that you can create an image with later added annotation. And this is the same guy who thought he could draw a line extension on a prepared chart with a Sharpie and nobody would know it wasn't there to start with. So, deep fakes, hopefully the people who are creating them know that they're not real.
Hopefully.
Brian, what do you got?
Nothing. That is Nothing Phone 3. See what I did there? I thought this was just a good quick story, not a fiery passion story, but a quick story. Nothing Phone 3. Nothing is one of those phone makers where I honestly, God did not give them any hope, really. And here they are with their third generation of their phone. They're still hanging out there. I love this idea that we have, phone makers that are not any of the big players here. And so they've come out with Phone 3, but the reason I'm talking about them is because they have this new AI focus. And I'm actually glad Carl's here, because I feel like this is sort of a Carl story. The gist is people are saying in this, this is a CNET article saying are they looking to replace the entire cool Google Play Store? But what they've done is they've put AI directly on the phone's device, on the device, and you can prompt AI to just create the app and the thing that you want. So for instance, somebody was able to just prompt AI, create an app that created a new widget that then changed the face of the phone. And so it's this idea, I think, that Carl, you brought up before of hold on, are people going to keep paying for these other services if they can just on the fly build them themselves? And I think there's arguments from both sides of that. But this is the first time I've seen where what they're doing is they call it the essential apps. And they can also be remixed. We'll be talking about remixes here probably in a second with Sora 2, but they can be published So now you have this kind of cool ecosystem where you could be on your phone, do something that you think is cool. Maybe it's super niche, and 20 other people in the world are going to think that's super cool too, or whatever. But you do it and you can publish it, and now other people can, further customize their phone. Obviously, that's been around, but this seems like a much faster way to do it. And if it's on the device, I think that's super cool too. So there you go. The Nothing Phone 3 update. Just want to make sure I was saying that right. Check it out. I think it's actually kind of cool what they're doing. And I hope to see some of these really cool ideas, maybe make their way into some of the other major players. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, nothing's come out with a couple of phones over the last couple of years, and they're really fun, if anything. Yeah, like back LEDs and all that kind of fun stuff. Beth, what is your lightning story for this round?
My lightning story is that Wikipedia gets an AI competitor. X.ai announces they're creating Grokpedia, right? Is it Grokpedia? Which will be an AI-powered competitor to Wikipedia to make sure that synthetic corrections are going to be made once Grok AI models automatically detect inaccuracies in online content. So I think we would all feel slightly better had Grok AI not just had several very specific rewritings that seem to be problematic and then fixed by XAI's team. But that is coming. And I think we knew it was coming, but so if you're not duped by Andy's fake Elon in terms of investing, or if you're trying to make sure that you're not duped in that, also be aware of checking your sources.
Now, I'm not sure how you can have a competitor to Wikipedia, which is like a open source thing, but we'll see how that plays out. Carl, do you have a lightning round story for us?
Yeah, I know paying attention, but full disclosure, I am an investor in CoreWeave, and it's been happy days for them, for investors, because they just recently did another $6.5 billion deal, this time with Meta, and they've already $14.2 billion infrastructure deal with Meta, and they've already expanded their deal with OpenAI for $6.5 billion. So they're pretty much tied to the hip. And what CoreWeave does, for those who don't know, is I think they, in no simplified terms, they kind of rent out cloud space for their GPUs. From what it's a little more complicated than that, but like that's pretty much, it's their infrastructure that very, very connects Stargate, which is everything is like ecosystem. Now in with Meta,
we're losing them.
Maybe even.
Yeah, Carl, you're cutting out for us.
Yeah.
I'm just about to write. Is it just me? But I'm looking at everybody else's face.
Right. So I'll go ahead and move on to my quick story for this morning. Amazon had a recent event in the last couple of days talking about all of their consumer products, particular things like Echoes and Fire TVs and things like that. But the quick highlight is that Alexa Plus is it's their AI powered or an empowered version of Alexa, and that assistant will be automatically installed on all of the new devices. It's supposed to increase the capabilities of Alexa, right now the response seems to be fairly lukewarm to Alexa Plus when they've had to deploy it onto existing devices or what the first devices were. It's not had the best journey as of yet, but this seems to be the newest version of that. So if you want to get a new Echo or you really like Alexa, this should be a boon for you. Okay. So we've gone through our lightning round. Who's the most fiery?
Can I just jump on your Amazon note, because Amazon AWS did strike a partnership with the NBA in terms of launching AI-powered features and data insights from games. So what you'll see probably a lot more AI. If you do watch the NBA, you'll see a lot more data from broadcasts and so on, because it's now it's being powered by AWS and using their system.
To that, as well is the NFL is starting to offer their own insights packages to the teams to analyze games and stuff like that. So there might be a lot more overlays and X-ray views at games as they roll out. Okay, so the meat of today's episode is the fiery news of fiery passion. Who's the most fiery and the most passionate about their news today?
Well, I have a thing I want to talk about, but it seems it has to do with AI and science. And it's a follow-on to, or a lead into, the periodic labs announcement. But if Junmi, if you're going to talk about periodic labs, I'm going to weave these two things together.
Yeah, run with it.
Together. Okay. So periodic labs is a brand new startup started in 2025 by OpenAI and DeepMind researchers to automate science. It uses frontier models to discover new materials and speed all kinds of research and development. And what they're building is a self-driving lab stack so that the scientific process is managed entirely by AI. Okay, so the founders came out of the woodwork here with $300 million in a seed round, and the major players behind them are Andreessen Horowitz, NVIDIA, Accel, a major VC in the valley here, Jeff Bezos, Eric Schmidt. Okay, so you've got Amazon's got a little play in here. You've got Google, DeepMind, and Eric Schmidt, the former he's the chairman of former chairman, I think, of Google. Maybe he's still the chairman. I'm not sure. And others, Elad Gil, a notable name in the VC world. So this is a big bet that's being made on the advancements of science. And so then I wanted to say this is initially being applied to superconductors, which is a material sciences space. And so tied to this is the thing that I'm really kind of curious about, because I won't be able to explain this in any meaningful way because this is really out there. But Los Alamos Lab, which is a U.S. lab. It's not an independent private laboratory. The Los Alamos place, you've heard the name before because of its involvement early on in the development of nuclear technologies. But they have had a very sort of cutting edge, dark sciences lab going on down there in, I think, New Mexico, Los Alamos, New Mexico. And what they have done is they've created an AI framework that solves a problem that's been pressing in the world of physics modeling for 100 years. And it's called the configurational integral, which is the mathematics that capture particle interactions. So, when you have a particle accelerator and you slam it into other things, then all the internal components of the atom go out. But figuring out what happened there in this nanosecond period while these particles are exploding is notoriously difficult and time consuming. And so when you have extreme pressures or phase transitions of an atom, Los Alamos senior scientist Boyan Alexandrov, who led the project, says this is transformational for us. And they built something called Thor AI. And what Thor AI does is it transforms the computational nightmare into a technique called tensor train cross interpolation. We're not going to understand this in a moment, but one of the things that is for future exploration is, what is the word tensor in the context of AI? Because tensor is really meaningful. And I'm not going to try to explore that now because I don't understand it well enough. But tensor processing is a different model. And actually, Google has developed their own line of chips called tensor processing units. So there's something that we really need to pursue as a show here around the distinction between tensor processing and graphics processing units, right? So the TPU and GPU side by side is an important one. But this is something called tensor train cross interpolation. And it breaks down high dimensional problems into smaller connected components. And what that does is, previously, supercomputers running for thousands of hours needed to be done in order to get the solution to what just happened in these atomic incidents. And this does it in seconds. Okay, so it's really, really dramatically improving this. And so has immediate applications in materials science, which is what periodic labs is going to be focused on as well. But now, Los Alamos, by doing this, it's not going to be a private thing. It's not owned by a private company. So the technology that they've developed to advance that can be exploited by periodic labs. I don't think it's open source, but you can bet that Los Alamos and periodic labs are going to be talking about Thor and what their breakthroughs were and how to apply that. So we're going to see new materials. We're going to see all kinds of advances in material science, which has to do with lots of things, including all the sort of nanoscale things that have to be done in order to make all of our compute processes more efficient and energy efficient.
There's also a robot angle to that, which tosses back to our Monday show, because what Periodic Labs is planning is for robots and AI to handle the manual, repetitive, and high volume experimental work. So the humans actually do the high level, like this is the choosing and designing of experiments. And when I asked for more details, robots pipetting liquids, right? Like the kinds of things that need to get done over and over again and introduce human error just because it's a repetitive physical motion. Now, my mind, of course, is thinking of like biped robots doing this. It may just be two arms on a table, but that is, I think, as relevant in terms of a new way of doing things, at least from my understanding, that this will be designed robot first, right? It's AI first, it's robot first now.
Awesome. I love AI in science stories. So this has been a happy day for me so far. Brian, do you have a story of fiery passion for us?
No, I was looking, and I want to make sure we have enough time to, discuss Sora too, and I'm sure that'll come up. So I'll give my time back or anything like that. I don't have anything this week. I think there's really some interesting. You kind of hit Amazon, and I actually I'm excited about Amazon. I'll point out one thing that they mentioned, and I think this is just a taste of like a future of like on device and edge device. So they were talking about their ring cams and stuff, and they had this demo that had to do with a lost dog. And I don't have pets, but I could see me maybe being involved in something like this, where if I have a ring cam facing forward. Yeah, or facing forward, facing the street, obviously, right? Facing the front. And there was the idea, the concept being, if there was a pet that was on the loose, that basically you could bring a community of Ring doorbells together and the vision part of it to find that dog. And then as the owner, as the homeowner who has that Ring, I can choose whether to share that or not. I'm not quite what kind of person you are. If you see literally the dog that's missing and you're like, no, I'm not sharing that with the owner, but I think that's kind of cruel. But anyway, I like this idea of this like spun up community type things. And I think we'll see more of this, but it's also, Jimmy, it's just a quick story of like, oh, here's just like the nothing phone. It's like, here's an edge AI case. It's on the device. And now we're looking at, it's powered through Alexa and things like that. But now we're looking at like the Ring cams and things like that. And even their 180 cam, which just AI stitches together a full 180 view. That was another thing they announced. And yeah, they're not big stories, right? They're not fiery passion stories, but they are, again, just these little like, hey, let's pay attention to this roadmap and put it on the right timeline, because I think looking back, we're going to be like, wow, when did all of our devices at the edge start getting AI on device? And we've talked about it a lot on the show, and I actually think we're starting to see that more and more. Now, I can't speak directly to the Amazon things and the nothing and whether they're using cloud and whether it's truly on device, but this is where I see things going. And although most people may go, yeah, that's cool, it can find a lost dog, and that's obviously valuable to the homeowner who lost the dog, the pet owner. I also just think it's a bigger story of like where we will see these type of things going. This sort of like instant spun up community and drop down community for a single thing. Again, what was it yesterday or the day before? I was just talking about Monday when we were talking about robots, talking about the hurricanes here. That spun up, and we have Facebook groups and stuff like that, and that spun up a ton of community involvement as people tried to race to figure out how the unaffected could help the people who were affected and all that kind of stuff. But also, my Ring doorbell would have been great to know whose fence was flying by, what piece of fence was flying by, where'd my trash can go? Like hurricanes are kind of a, what? And so I could see how that could very well help a community in crisis when it comes to something like that. I mean, we already have Amber alerts, and we all have silver alerts and things like that. I think there's a lot more here in terms of AI and where this can go. Right now, it's a simple Amber alert, or right now it's a simple, I found your lost dog. But where can this go in the sort of near future? That's interesting to me. So that's it. Not really a burning, fiery passion type story, but more of like I think this is a point on the timeline that we should pay attention to because of what's coming after it,
Yeah, I agree. Identifying those touch points is important, not just for historical things, but it does help you build out your red string theory of whatever you're trying to put together. Pattern recognition, really.
Yeah.
Carl,
can I just point out one other thing, because I see it in the comments. People are like, careful, Big Brother, 1984, George Orwell. Yeah, Orwellian. Heard on all that. I see it in the comments. I see you. I'm sure other people are like that careful too. But, yeah, I get it. I get what they're saying there, but also your streets watch you when you drive. So there's a bit of that that's already out there before AI. So do that with what you will. So just want to throw that out, that I do see you guys in the comments. Thank you.
Carl, do you have a story of fiery passion for us?
Just the two announcements from the Lovable and Bolt in terms of what you can do from a backend perspective, which I think it's a nice combo, because Lovable came out just when you have the story about ChatGPT's instant checkout, and then Sonnet 4.5 came out. So I think it still got reach, but it didn't get as much reach. And then Bolt's very similar thing kind of got downplayed, because I think it came out the same time as Sora 2 did, which kind of drowned out their announcement. But if you do the combo in both, and it's just, I think Bolt focuses more on enterprise from my understanding, but the ability of these two, where you do not have to think about connecting to a backend, although Lovable is the cloud section is sponsored by Supabase, so you would have connected to Supabase mostly anyway. But it's just nice that I love the Lovable commercial just because, hey, if a 10-year-old kid can build this, why can't you? That's how I always see it. So it's like, it's kind of that message anybody can build. And yeah, you're going to get the devs who are like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you have to refactor this. I'm like, that's okay, that's cool. And I get it. But it's not, I really think it's not about anybody just building a SaaS app and trying to sell it to millions of people. It's literally building something for your workspace. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday, we were one of our clients and we showed them that video after they were talking about, hey, we really need to do something in terms of our scheduling and how they schedule. And it isn't just an off-the-shelf Calendly or Microsoft Calendar or whatever. There's a very unique way that they schedule, unique to them. So even if they buy an off-the-shelf solution, they have to tailor it, or it's kind of messed up because they'll have to adjust their process and they don't want to because they've had that process for a while. But the ability to build their own scheduling tool and tailor it to their specific process and add it is so powerful for them, because it's like, hey, we can build it. And then, because I told them, hey, you know what you want to do? You probably want to do a product resource document, go through the features. But then once you have it, go use ChatGPT to help you build it. And then ask ChatGPT to give you a prompt in, Lovable, and have it created for you in Lovable Cloud. And maybe that's all you need. And maybe that's it, right? They didn't need to build anything to sell, but it's immediate use case for them. And that's where I think, to me, something like a Bolt, what they have there, I don't know if you've seen the new stuff from Replit, their I think version 3, especially their connectors. They can connect to YouTube and a lot of different major applications just by telling the agent, hey, I wanted to do this and connect to this. I don't know if they have the list of accepted connectors. I'm not sure, but the ability to do that easily and not have to, and for you, just for your use case, for your business use case, it's that is the type of democracy I see, not trying to sell it to hundreds of thousands or make a TAM out of it, or to your TAM or ICP, but just like, I'm going to build it for myself. It works. And that's all I needed to do. I don't if I build it for myself, I'd probably be too OCD in terms of the code and want to fix it. But for most people, they won't need to do that. And that is just
for people who want to have an application that multiple users can have access to, but with controlled access. A key addition to Lovable's new model, the Lovable Cloud model, is that it handles the authentication of new users and the database of new users without you having to set all of that up in Supabase authentication or OAuth authentication. So it streamlines the ability to make an application that maybe you only want to have 7 or 8 people use it, but you want to keep those users separate and have them have their own database partition in effect. But Lovable now enables that really, really directly, just through conversation with a Lovable agent. And I want to tie this, by the way, to the release of Claude Sonnet 4.5, because Lovable uses Claude Sonnet 4 in their agent, and that was a major advance when I was working with Lovable. That the addition of Claude Sonnet 4 was great. Then they came out with 4.1, and now on Monday they released formally 4.5. So Lovable probably has 4.5 in there already or on the way, and I haven't checked that out yet. Give me time to open up my Lovable here and figure it out later. But anyway, I think it is easier now than it was before. I spent a lot of time building my app in Lovable on the creation and proving and refinement and bug swatting on authentication and on the integration with Supabase and the schema there. Now all that's going to be handled by the agent.
And if I could just add real quick to that, I'll just add Lovable from 2 days ago, or started rolling out Claude Sonnet 4.5 to Lovable users. So there's the answer to that, Andy. Rolling out, that doesn't mean everybody will have it. Also, I just want to talk really quickly, because Beth, I know you're about to say something too. Like, I really see the potential of Lovable now that they've solved both what you said, Andy, about having multiple users and managing that, but also the direct connect to like something like Stripe. I want people to just think now, like kids too. Like, I would love for my daughter to kind of learn too on here, because she's totally capable of doing it. But you know, that I think I'm attributing to this right person. We always followed Dave Ramsey earlier in my marriage, still too, but like Dave Ramsey, I will credit as somebody who his book, whatever it was, I can't remember the name of it, but it really helped my wife and I like get our budget under control early in marriage, like 15, 20 years ago. And so he was somebody that was like, you know, you don't like stop trying to, you know, boil the world. Like, you just boil the ocean. Like, you just like think of that first bill that you're paying $5 a month. What if you could replace that with some easy part of income, you know, and then approach the next and the next and next. And I think, oh, here's the actual solution that people could learn on their own and get good enough at, just in Lovable, of building easy solutions. I live in a neighborhood that has over 600 houses in it. It's pretty massive. It's just my neighborhood. It has multi sub neighborhoods with gated communities in my neighborhood. We're all connected on Facebook. Do you know how easy it would be for me to find a pane? Could have been hurricane, could have been whatever, could have been dog walking, it could have been whatever. Find a pane that I'm seeing by just looking in the Facebook group of people bringing up the same questions over and over and over again, then creating a solution for it and either making it free or perhaps having a one-off payment that allows people to go, yeah, you know what? For $5 one time, $5, this totally makes sense to me because it solves my pain really quick or whatever. I'm not even talking subscription, but of course you could go that way too. So now you have something that's made it very easy. Allegedly, I have not built in it, so I'm not saying I know from experience, but they're touting this as a very easy way that you can basically build it. You know, yes, it's probably not going to be for enterprise. It would probably have to rebuilt for that. But for taking simple payments for a simple pain point that you're solving and having it to be all managed inside Lovable, and they're using now Claude Sonnet 4.5, anybody that's like, hey, I would like to know how I can make a little more money on the side, I'd be like, go spend some time there. See what you can build there. Go see what's in your local community. Stay within a 5-mile radius of where you live. Figure out what those people need, and then go try to find a solution for it and build it in Lovable. See if you can't make a 99 cents a month thing. Guess what? 100 people at 99 cents a month is still $100 a month coming into your bank account. There's a lot of 99 cent a month solutions, just like apps in the old days. So it's easier than ever, you know, to go out there and go build solutions. I just wanted to throw that out there, and I hope people get excited about that. I know I am, and you know, I have a daughter who's always like, "How can I make more money? Where can I work?" Da, 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 da. And I am going to be like, "Go figure this out. Go figure this out." Because then you can make all sorts of solutions for your friends. And, you know, like homecoming is this weekend. Hey, they're struggling about the dresses and stuff like that. Go build a solution really quick that solves your problem and their problem, and then give it to them or charge them for it, whatever. Right? That's what's going on.
The point of lowering the barriers and having that capability, being able to, for everyone essentially, or for a large portion of people, I think that's the most exciting thing about this whole deployment component. And yeah, I can't wait until I get my my hands deep into it myself.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to quickly do a couple of AI and science stories, and then we'll get to the root of why everybody's here. So quick AI and science stories that are actually kind of tied to each other and a little bit tied to what Andy was saying earlier. So the University of South Wales, working with a company called Dirac with a Q, they have proven out that they can use existing silicon fabrication, both equipment, frameworks, and processes, to build out the 99% accuracy requirement or bar to meet for quantum computing. So just to break that down for you a little bit, essentially, the biggest issue that scientists are developing quantum computing is maintaining this accuracy level for the quantum state of the superposition of the qubits, right? And using more and more of those to be able to do those, that idea of vast computational powers and things like that. But one of the issues is it requires a whole lot of accuracy or error correction, I should say, to maintain this. Now, what's exciting about this particular news is they can maintain the error correction level that they need, but use existing technologies and processes to create quantum chips that keep that level of accuracy. Albeit it's early days, but they've not been able to do this before. They have reached a certain benchmark in which they can now create these quantum chips. So right now they can do 2 qubits. It's not a lot, especially on this next story that I'm going to be talking about. But the consistency and the ability to use already existing technology and processes makes this very exciting to see the next step along the line of quantum computing in our own hands, right? So I think that's the main takeaway for myself for this story. Now, this weaves into another story from Caltech. So Caltech, using a method called neutral atom qubits, have been able to break the record on the number of qubits being able to generate, and that's 6,100. It's over 6,000 qubits as part of this new system that they've created. I believe Google had the record before. It's something like 2,500 or 2,600. I'll have to fact check that. But so Caltech's come out with their newest quantum computing process, and it's gotten up over 6,000 qubits. Now, what they've been able to do to get this amount of qubits is the ability for their control method. So they use something called neutral atoms. I'm not going to explain that today. That's going to require a little more research. And then they use laser tweezers. I know it sounds funny, but they use these 12,000 laser tweezers to move the atoms around the board while maintaining their state of superposition. So the visual in my mind is wild, but I'm sure there's a far more better explanation of it. But essentially, the main takeaway for me on this story is they're both achieving greater and greater amount of computing possibility with 6,100 qubits on one side, and now we're also seeing technologies and methods that we can start seeing qubits being manufactured consistently, or quantum computer chips being manufactured consistently. And when that diagram or those graphs finally meet, that's when we're going to have a quantum computer in our hands. So, so those are my 2 related stories of fiery passion for today. So, who wants to pick up the OpenAI flag and run with everything they've been doing over the last week?
I want to do one before you guys do that. That will go into that because it's been mentioned in the chat. And fiery passion, Tilly Norwood, the AI actress. And what's interesting about this is it was already revealed. They've already she did a comedy sketch. I refer to her as she, right? And it did a comedy sketch last month. So there's some stuff that's come out about it. But what's interesting about this is that the company that created her is pursuing an agency deal. So it's not going direct to the Hollywood production companies, but actually marketing her as a talent that you could contract with through the agency. And that is very interesting. Lots of actors in agencies are speaking out about it. Drop your agency if they do this. But I think that's a very interesting play.
Yeah, I don't know enough to form a coherent thought on this, I think. But my initial reactions are I knew someone was going to try it. This is a little earlier than I thought they would. And basically, what I've been able to see so far of other people talking it and showing screenshots of their websites and all that kind of stuff, there's a mixed bag on can they do what they're really trying to prove out. So, and then there's questions about the history of the company. Does it have any real teeth to it? But is this an AI hype cycle thing? Not exactly sure. But yeah, I think it's inevitable that they were going to go down this route, or at least attempt to. So now seeing what the reaction is, that I think is the main takeaway.
All I was going to say on this one is I don't really understand where the mode is with this. Like, okay, Tilly, I only know it by name. I haven't seen the avatar or the AI, whatever. But okay, this AI avatar has you built up a social media channel. Okay, that's not anything crazy or new or whatever. But like, why agencies maybe are trying to figure out how that particular AI avatar somehow would get more people to buy or whatever. I mean, it's going to be the backlash. Never mind that part of it. But I don't really understand the mode, I guess, is all I'm trying to say on this. Like, I'll be curious to see this play out because I don't exactly know how you create something with AI as good as it might be, as lifelike as it might be, and then it shows up in a Coke commercial or a Pepsi commercial or whatever, or it's in advertising in other ways. And then for Coke to be like, well, why am I gonna pay you? We just go create our own. Like, I don't, if that's what we're talking about, I don't really understand where the super value is, unless there's more to it that I'm missing.
I think it has to do with there being the combination of the studio, which can create the character, and the social media presence and the creation of an influencer that has an audience already.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with Tilly Norwood. It might even be indistinguishable to some of the people who are following Tilly Norwood that she's AI. Mm-hmm. The tools are there to create a persona that has a presence in our world and in our social media. And then that persona needs an agency to be the contractual interaction between, say Tilly Norwood wants to be in a cameo in a feature film that's coming up. Well, she's a recognizable character that's out there. I think that it's only in that context that this has a moat. You have to develop something that's actually appealing and has a broad reach.
And it feels like it's a here today, gone tomorrow type of thing too. Like a really short lifespan.
Like human actors.
It could be a
probably
type of situation. So like in early Hollywood, the studios would have stables of actors before they broke out to have individual representation and things like that. So this could be, things in life are cyclical. So this could be going back to that kind of situation. If company X creates the most popular AI actors, right? And they have IP rights and control over it, and everyone seems to like them, like Andy says, have that followership, then there's some negotiation there. Now, to answer about like Coke doing their own thing, that could just be a matter of implementation speed. It's like, yes, we could create our own, we could build our own, we could have all of that, or we're just going to pay this agency to do it for us. You know,
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, Mickey Mouse is just a drawn character, but it's beloved and it's grown an audience and it has a following. And that's why, using Mickey Mouse would be very, very expensive in a movie or something like that. You'd have to get massive rights from Disney to do it. So, I mean, I guess I'm talking myself out of it because I guess there's certainly other use cases of fictional characters that are beloved. If you watch the studio, you saw the whole thing with them using the Kool-Aid Man in the Kool-Aid movie and that whole thing, which was super hysterical. But like, I get it. It's a voice, it's a cartoon character, whatever. Was it the Demon Hunters, that movie that came out that did really, really well on Netflix and stuff like that? And you could see those characters going on to have AI representation and stuff like that. So anyway, it is a good pivot though into Sora 2, because it really is about like social media and AI, right? So Beth and Carl, you guys both have it, right? Sora 2?
Sort of. And the weave for that is Andy said Tilly's going to do a cameo, and cameo is one of the main features of Sora 2. Go, Carl.
Go, Carl.
I'm a more question, Beth. When you say sort of, either you got it. I don't know what you mean by sort of.
I got it. I downloaded it. I haven't done anything with it. So
okay.
Feels like sort of having it.
The one thing I want to say though is I don't know if this was intentional, but it's a low-key genius. Sam Altman is everywhere, like everywhere. And people have created cameos about him everywhere. And I was like, that's like some of the things, right? He's getting arrested for stealing GPUs, really funny. And him, every single situation that I've seen him in is amazing. But and it looks like him too. So yeah. I was like, this is fantastic. And it's all over the app, right? It's really, really like for just for Sam Altman, it's crazy. It's a couple of things that I thought of too, because when you were talking, Beth, I said, well, it's funny that they use the term cameo because we all know what the app cameo or the company cameo was doing, right? Which technically you can do now. Like you can, with permission, you can license your cameo to whoever. Seems like Sam Altman he'll be in every single deepfake from now until whenever, right? He's given it to everybody. And I was like, is that a good idea? But then it's like, what, for me, it's like, okay, what is Sam saying? Is that real or not? Because you can't tell, like, you really can't. There are some situations when you're like, wow, it's super, super bang on. Now, when I did it, it's not bang on. It's like, it's okay for some, and someone's like, yeah, this doesn't work. But the cameos, honestly, that's all I've been doing is just building cameos out. I haven't actually done any work outside of that. So I was like, I would like to do more. But the physics is, when they talk about the physics, the one thing I tested was whenever I was trying to do downhill mountain bike or free ride mountain bike physics, no video model has ever gotten that right. It's never, if you follow that sport, if you do downhill free ride, you see a lot of the vids on it. It doesn't match. And this is the first time that it's like, hey, that actually looks right? It's like when you do a jump and you do the physics like work quite well. And I've run it a couple times. I'm like, this is actually pretty good. So when they talk about physics, and then you see other examples of the pouring the water, that is really cool to be able to do that. However, you can, and maybe it's just on the app itself, even though it's 1080p, you can, if you look closely in the background, it's still not like what we're kind of used to, like crisp video. So you can tell. And obviously they put the Sora marker because they don't want to, there's a lot of different things that you could do with it. So they want to put that marker. I'm sure there's going to be marker removals for that in the future. But so, yeah, that was kind of my first impressions of it. I was just doing a bunch of cameos. I never actually created it. Oh, I did create one thing. I created a home builder, as if, it's like if you've ever seen any real estate shots, you have the drone shot going into the house, over the house, then they do room by room, and then the drone shot coming out. That's a very typical real estate video listing video. And I told him to do it, and it was the voiceover was really good, and the room by room shot looked amazing. The only thing I couldn't do in the app was I took a picture or copied a picture and tried to use it, and it won't work. I don't know why they have plus use an image, because I've never tried to make it work. Like, I was sitting behind a in traffic, and I told my daughter, hey, take a picture of that, because she's already in Sora too. She's like, yeah, take a picture of that and try to create a scene from it, and she couldn't get it to work. So I'm not sure if that's just the use case right now.
That's interesting. It's also I agree, Carl, and I think that the thing that I saw that said, look, the physics are great, was someone doing a jump flip and landing, and then being able to do 3 of those. And I feel like we're coming into an era where people who do the thing and know what it's supposed to look like know that's not that doesn't look real, right? Like the second jump doesn't use enough power, kind of stuff. Like, if you know what you're seeing,
Right.
it doesn't look right. Because while the physics of, like, he kept all his limbs in the same places when he flipped through the air, like, you didn't lose biology. But if you know what that looks like, it doesn't look correct. And if you're somebody who understands like animal behavior cues, walking through animal advertisements are just like all over the place. Like, that dog is very upset to be there, forced to look at a camera in front of the food, not going to eat the food, doesn't like you or the food, right? Like, that kind of stuff. I feel like we're moving in a place where specific people who have specific deep knowledge about stuff is like, that's not how that looks. May look that way to an audience, right? We're used to seeing things like little tiny gymnasts on little tiny screens. That looks like good enough. But if you actually know what happens, I think we're going to see a lot of people going,
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I was recently talking to a friend of mine who does VFX and animation, and we were doing some testing of different models. And one of the comments that he made was, an animator can always spot a mistake,
right,
in whatever the generation is. So it's like, oh yeah, they missed this spot, or this thing's got, and things like that. And we know, we've said it before, this is the worst it'll ever be. But we're still in that space of, hey, this is a cool new toy, right? And they've set it up to be TikTok-esque, right?
I think that was the best move they could have made, by the way.
Yeah.
Totally did not see that coming. The best move was to basically make its own app and be like, hey, this is a social media fun thing to do. Because you know what? People care less about Uncanny Valley on a fun social media account.
Yeah,
you're just having fun with friends.
It's that parameters kind of thing. Yeah.
I thought, this is such a smart way to get around some limitations of where this technology, mind you, it's amazing. And we were all, impressed, hopefully with the demos that were shown and stuff. But of course, like everything else, how many times did they have to iterate in order to get that one shot? We all know that's part of it. But yeah, that was the big thing I took away from it, was like, they are low key giving us a new social media platform to play with. And we've seen Facebook do this with some of the things they have had. We've seen Apple do this with some weird emoji builder things. That's stupid. It's part of the Apple intelligence and not worth it. But this is like, I could see my daughter playing around with this with her friends and giving permission just to her friends to do cameos and stuff. We'll see. She's a teenager, and I think there's things to be rightfully concerned about it, whatever, but just as a form of expression and their way of how they interact with each other. And they do this kind of silly stuff anyway with filters. And she's always, like, we'll do this TikTok, we'll do this dance or whatever. I think I find it to be like pretty interesting. And I think that's actually a cool play.
Let me add some historical perspective to that. one of the major companies out there in social media is Snap. It was originally called Snapchat, and it caught fire because it had an expiring shared video or image. And it was limited to 7 seconds. It would just disappear after 7 seconds. And so what this allowed youngsters to do, and I say youngsters like in, preteen to teen range, right? Or hopefully 13 plus. But what they would do is now they were free without fear of having somebody, take, their image and spread it around, although screenshotting it was, a risk. But they were able to do something that was fun and one of the big things that happened early on was just putting on your ugliest face and sharing it with your friends. And then it would disappear after 7 seconds. They would send their ugliest face back. And then that translated into, okay, let's go a little more risque on the scale. And Snapchat had a reputation of actually having a platform that would allow people to do something that was a little risque and, maybe a little too exposing, but had the feature of disappearing. So that all morphed into Snap today, which is a huge, huge social network out there. So there were two components to the Sora 2 announcement and release. And one of them was this social media aspect, which is brilliant. But there's this other one, which is the quality of the video generation and its adherence to physics. And I want to give a shout out to Gareth Hood, who's one of our regular contributors in the chat and also in our community. And he posted a comparison of the same prompt given to Sora 2 to X, Grok 4 to VO3, and I think there were a total of 4 altogether. And you could look at those on Nate Jones' Substack in the conversation thread. You could look at each one of those video generations by them, and every one of them is quite good. I think Grok was the weakest of them all, but no slight to Grok. Grok's capable in lots of different ways, but in terms of video generation with, sort of quality and interest and adherence to physical principles, it wasn't as good as the other players there. So anyway, if you get a chance, go see if you can find Gareth Hood's comparo of 4 different generations of the same prompt to see how Sora 2 compared to the other major players out there.
Definitely. Yeah. Gareth makes good stuff. I did want to bring up one last bit, and I wanted to know what you guys' thoughts on this is. At the very end of the live stream, almost as an aside, they mentioned that they do have plans to have a web version. They are going to make an API.
Yep.
They didn't mention on any timeline or anything like that. Do you think because they just mentioned it as an aside at the end, just to wrap things up, we shouldn't expect that anytime soon? And what's that really going to look like? Because the big push seems to be the social media and the fact that it's an iOS app right off the bat. And that's the only really way to access it. I thought I could access it through Higgsfield for a hot second. And then I realized it was Open Sora, which is a different program, project altogether. And then it got removed. So I don't know what's going on with that one. But I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
Whether it'll be soon or not, I think Android will come first, and then probably desktop, and then probably API. If I just had to guess, that's just my timeline on it. I think the API is interesting and what you'll potentially be able to do, but I think they'll also learn a ton by letting people play with it on the app for a while. So it's probably in their best interest to gather a ton of data before perhaps doing either of the desktop. I mean, Android, I think, will be a carbon copy of, it'll be what we have right now. But then desktop, you learn from that data, and then API, I think it'll be interesting from that. But there's a lot of fun ways you could think about using that from the API stand for it to auto generate new clips and stuff. I mean, Beth from the Yes and improv world, you could imagine all five of us allowing each other to use the Cameo, right? Allowing to use our things, and then just auto APIing it through so that Beth starts the scene, and whatever it sends to my API, I have to pick it up and do the next 7 seconds, and then Jimmy's and Andy's and Carl's, and it goes back to Beth. And then you just watch it and you're like, let's see how ridiculous this gets. Because the idea would be that it always had to pick up on whatever the last thing said was and couldn't keep the scene going. And like how crazy and off kilter does it go after, and how many seconds? That would be like silly and fun, but I could see things like that would be super fun to do through through an API, let it run wild a bit.
Absolutely. And it is the social media play, particularly in the context of American TikTok being sold or being I don't know, an arranged marriage being being moved to a different situation. Because when we did the Higgsfield review, also the tool review, Higgsfield had also just come out with their community page, right, which was a similar kind of thing. So I think we're seeing all of the players that allow you to generate video going to start and do some of those things.
And then Jimmy,
yeah, literally.
Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I was thinking, if there's no way Grok, Google, Anthropic, I'm not sure. They seem to be pretty smart on where they want to go, but the other two, there's no way they're just going to allow Sora to do whatever, right? I feel like it's inevitable. You're going to have a Gemini app that does the same thing, and Grok for sure with less controls. Like on whatever Grok is going to come out with, I can now cameo myself into any copyrighted. Like here, there's some copyrights, like I can't do that, but there'd be no like they wouldn't care. They're just like, I can put myself in any scene in any like movie, because I think Chris Penn put out a video on Cameo, and it had, I don't know if you listened, it had the Avengers theme in the background, like there was no change in tone, right? It was exactly the Avengers theme. So I'm like, oh, that's very neat. But I know with the Grok, it would be like, no, you can do whatever you want there. So it'd be very interesting how this is all playing out in terms of social. And then I don't know if you heard, because there's a post by somebody that says OpenAI just out AI slopped Meta. And so I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. But I'm like, did Meta release something this week? Not the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, but some sort of thing that they're going to do into the platforms. But it kind of got overshadowed by this. Does anybody know anything? Because I was doing
really quick, but
can you someone check really quick, maybe in the audience too? Because I thought, and maybe this is me dreaming of it, but I thought I saw something where Meta announced something in their app that is like showcasing this, but I'm not sure it got picked up. And I don't know if anybody has heard or saw it.
Facebook, this is back from 9/22. Facebook launches AI assistants to help users build dating profiles. Then there was Meta partners with GSA to explain Llama AI model adoption. Then I see here about WhatsApp launches message translation, which also would be Meta. I don't see anything else right off of the news story. There's nothing that jumps out at me.
Okay,
like that would be about slop. Launches Vibes, a new feed for discovering and creating. Okay, Meta launches Vibes, a new feed for discovering and creating AI-generated videos.
They've been out
9/25. That came out.
That was it. I think that was it. So essentially, OpenAI was like, "Oh, Meta would launch that," and it's interesting because you have a super intelligence team that is paid, I don't know, ungodly amounts of money, yet we haven't heard a peep. Nothing from them, except for people quit and they got mad and they restructured because of something and something and something. So it'd be interesting to see what Meta would do in this space because of they're literally that is that's who they are. Like all the social is them. So you have OpenAI taking this first salvo of like, hey, we got a social app. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
Right.
I kind of miss this. Oh, like we got to get more animals jumping on trampolines.
Of course we
Well,
do.
And we don't have to hear from Meta. We actually don't really have to hear from X, right? Because they are places where people go already go. They already have users. So if you're just creating another tool for users, for your existing users to be able to use, we might not hear from the initial announcement. We might hear the news story afterwards. Do you know what everybody's doing there?
It's true. It's true.
It's a valid point, Carl.
Jimmy, I know we're on time, but I got like a 30-second thing. Can I share it on
Go
screen
for it.
super quick? 30 seconds though. I just found this interesting. Okay, this is the new Echo Dot, the new Max, and look at the shape of it. I just found this interesting. I don't know if anybody else would have picked up on this. It looks similar to the shape of the orb. If you don't know what the orb is, look that up. Go to world.org. But the orb is like Sam Altman and another couple folks that are it's about your identity. It's about, you could look it up. Go to world.org. I don't want to take up more time on it. But anyway, that's an orb. You literally go to it at a physical location. It takes like 30 seconds. And it's like proving your humanness. That's the best way I could take. And there's an app with it and all that. But anyway, as soon as I saw the Echo Dot Max at its new shape, which is sort of Death Star-ish or whatever, I was like, oh, that kind of looks like the orb. So I don't know if anybody picked up on that, whatever. It's not really news. It's just curiosity, I guess. Anyway, just wanted to share that super quick. That's all I got.
Cool.
I have one other 30-second thing that I think is really important. And
Let's do it.
Most of all the major frontier model developers that aren't in China are in California. And Governor Newsom signed SB 53, the first frontier model AI transparency law. So here, any large AI developer, that is a developer that has spent more than $100 million training on a model, right? They have to publicly publish their safety frameworks. They have to report critical incidents to the state. They have to create whistleblower channels, and they face civil penalties for noncompliance. Importantly, Anthropic endorsed the law, and Meta and OpenAI lobbied against it, but it passed, and it establishes, in addition to those things, a public computing cluster, and mandates annual updates to the state about the alignment of their models.
Wouldn't you just move your headquarters then? If you don't want to,
X did that, right?
Yeah, it'd be like, I'm just gonna go to Austin and be like, in Texas, that's not gonna fly. So you just move your headquarters, and then away you go. So I don't know how that law's gonna do anything.
Well, I wonder if it just matters for anything that happens in California as well. It's like,
probably,
yeah, it's like, oh, are you deploying this model in California? Okay, well then, it could be governs SB 53. So, I know there was a lot of pushback against getting something like this put onto the books. So we'll see how this rolls out. Will other states follow suit? Because there's a lot of similarities to what's in SB 53 as what's in the EU AI Act as well.
Right.
So.
And a version of this was passed all the way through, and he vetoed it. Right. So like this is a reworked bill, and part of what it was reworked about it was the idea that that there's an income threshold, there's a value to the company threshold for now needing to publish those results, so that it didn't end up so it didn't end up unintentionally quashing startups, right? That are or students, right? That are doing that need the opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it really applies to open source.
No, because there's a definite size cap. There's a computational cap and a resource cap as well, like you said, Beth. So still keeps those channels open. All right. unless there's anything else, I think we're going to wrap it up for today. We definitely went over our time a little bit. I want to thank everybody in the chat for joining us, and of course, all of our viewers and subscribers. Please continue the discussion in our Slack community. So head over to dailyaishowcommunity.com to sign up. On Thursday, we're going to be talking about Claude Code and some real business use cases. And on Friday is our favorite AI happenings of this week. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Aloha.